All right. Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, the place for Canadian affiliate owners and coaches and great stories. And excited for my guest today. Long time coming as we try to meet all of our CrossFit seminar staff. We have the elusive Jason, the Animal MacDonald. Really, I think just the time frame to get you linked up to the podcast was to get Red Deer to have high-speed internet to facilitate this. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I told you, I'm an elusive guy. If you're not persistent, then you're not going to track me down.
So you do, and that's part of what we'll talk about today. You know, a busy guy who's made his career in CrossFit, but still an affiliate owner. So I know I already did, but introduce yourself, where you live, your affiliate, and we'll just kind of roll in from there.
Yeah, my name is Jason MacDonald. I live here in Red Deer, Alberta. My wife and I have owned an affiliate here called Pure Fitness CrossFit for coming up in January will be our 22nd year.
Wow.
And I've worked on seminar staff for, I think this past October was 16 years. So been on seminar staff for quite a while, traveled around the world several times, teaching seminars here and there in all these crazy places. And then I inevitably find myself back in my affiliate Monday morning, grinding, teaching some classes, and rinse and repeat for about 45 weeks a year.
Yeah. And if people were to watch any not any CrossFit sanctioned event, but most of them, they'll probably see you lurking around the background. So do you have an official HQ title as well?
No, I don't. So I'm not a full-time employee for HQ. There's very few full-time employees for HQ. So no, but I've been, as you said, I've been involved as a head judge at the games for probably 14 years. And so yeah, hopefully you see me lurking in the background and you don't see me out on the floor. That means shit's going bad if you see me out on the floor. But hopefully you see me lurking around in the sidelines trying to keep the competition fair and keep things running smoothly for the athletes and the spectators and the judges.
Yeah. No, it's I always I still am a fan of the games, but I'm more just like, oh, there's Doobie, oh, there's DK, there's Christina, right? And then we'll be watching, I'll be like, oh, J-Mac's going to get
hey, that guy's not locking it out. Here he comes.
Yeah. You can see you coming from a mile away. But I love origin stories. Let's go all the way back to your first. What was your first exposure to CrossFit, and if you remember your first CrossFit workout even?
I do. Yeah, I do. So I was fighting professionally at the time. Had not made it to the UFC yet, I've been a gym rat since I was about 15 years old, running, lifting weights in my garage at home. I grew up in a rural area in Nova Scotia, and so all through university, I played volleyball in college, and we continued to train, and so I thought of myself as being a pretty fit guy, but I was doing some fighting I was fighting professionally, and I had a buddy that I worked with as a correctional officer. He was a correctional officer. He was an older guy that was always ahead of the curve. He was always ahead of the curve and into new things and open-minded to try new things. And he and I will carpool, and he told me to check out this website called CrossFit. I didn't even own a computer. My wife and I didn't even own a computer at our house. So I went to the gym, looked up the website just like everybody else did back in, this would be like 2004.
Wow.
And the workout of the day was the Filthy 50.
Okay.
And so I watched the little grainy videos of all the movements, and I was working out at the time in a global gym. I looked like that weirdo throwing the hard medicine ball against the wall and jumping on this, some weird box. And I made it about halfway through. Well, I made it to the toes to bar. And here I am on the cable crossover machine trying to swing my legs up, and I failed miserably. That was like 45 minutes in, and I failed miserably. And I was just appalled at myself at how unfit I was. I was like, what the fuck? I've been training since I was 14 years old. I played college volleyball. I'm fighting professionally in mixed martial arts, and I was embarrassed at how unfit I was, and I couldn't, do half of these things. So it was a real eye opener to me at that point that non-functional movements, isolation movements, were not providing me with a platform of being athletic and being more athletic and being fit
Yeah.
and sure, you look fit, you can build some muscle and but it's just not very functional. And that wasn't really what I was going for. I wanted to, I was trying to bust into the UFC, and I was trying to, I just wanted to be the best I could be athletically. And isolation movements wasn't getting me there. And CrossFit kind of filled that void of competition at the point for me. I had, recently retired from or graduated from college, so I no longer had sports in my life, and I was transitioning into MMA, and it provided me with a new challenge, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed being a student. I enjoyed
Yeah.
being a student, and I was like learning lots of new things, and they were making me really sore, and they were really difficult for me, and I just saw the value in it.
I'm really curious if you recall like your thoughts, especially a workout like Filthy 50. I mean, we know its efficacy now, but like the picture you painted, like very familiar at the gym, you're already a professional fighting. Do you remember looking up like a jumping pull up and walking lunges and being like, oh, this is gonna be a walk in the park. I'm gonna
Yeah,
crush.
I was like, I was a college volleyball player. 50
Yeah.
box jumps. This is going to be no problem. Jumping pull ups, no problem.
Yeah.
But I was just paralyzed with fatigue, like doing 50 reps of something as fast as you can and moving from one exercise to the next exercise without taking an excessively long break. Trying to complete this workout for time, which was something I'd never really exposed myself to at that point in my training. It was, you do a set and then you take a walk around the gym, look at yourself in the mirror, get a drink, and you know, so yeah, I just was appalled at how poorly conditioned I was. So from then on, I was hooked, and then I still believe that CrossFit functional movements done at relatively high intensity, and that changes from day to day and week to week. But I still think it's the best way to maximize someone's athletic potential and their fitness.
For sure. And I love like the conversations I've had over this project, a lot of newer coaches and affiliates and CrossFit people, but very rare do I get to talk old school. And this is even before my time, but I want to get to the comment section of the website, because now it's a lot more common to have like sugar wad, or we use push press at my gym and you can log the scores. And what happens is in the evening, everyone's at home, like scrolling push press, giving the fist bumps, but not realizing 20 years earlier, that was the comment section on CrossFit.com. So do you remember, I mean, bonus points if it's Filthy 50, but like seeing people score and being like, Chris Spieler, 16 minutes? What the hell?
Well, I was up here in little nowhere Red Deer. So
Yeah.
I wasn't even really in touch until I started watching these videos on .com. Like I lived on .com. It's actually quite surprising to me now. At seminars, I regularly ask the participants in the closing remarks, how many of them go on to CrossFit.com? And it's very disappointing that there's only a handful of people in the seats that put up their hands, because there's just so much. Well, there's so much history on there, but there's also just so much knowledge on there.
Yeah.
Like the articles and the videos and I mean, you want a progression to teach toe to bar? Well, you can just go on there and get it. As a new coach, you're like, well, where do I learn this stuff? Well, go on .com. It's on there for free. There's years and years of it. So, but yes, I remember like going on there, waiting for the workout to pop up and being excited and thinking, oh gosh, what's it going to be? I remember watching all the old videos of all the OGs like grinding it out and just being mind blown at how much capacity these people had.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And you're not far, or wouldn't have been far from OPT at that point too, right? And so see, there's this guy who's close to me, and he's doing it. Like,
yeah.
So what was the time frame look like? Not specifically, but then just from there to like, okay, I want to pursue this a lot more. Whether it was coach or was it just right to affiliate owner at that point?
Well, I started. So I was doing some fighting in Edmonton. I was traveling to Edmonton to do some boxing with the pro boxers up there.
Okay.
And I had a good buddy up there who was going to a gym. He said, "Hey, you'd really like this gym. I'm going to this gym. It's really great. The coach is great." And it ended up being Spark, which was a CrossFit affiliate in Edmonton. And Kim Layton ran it. So I stopped in after boxing one day for a workout. He took me through kind of a little semi-private session. I remember we did some deadlifts. He taught me how to do some kipping pull-ups. I remember at the point I still can do a muscle up, and he gave me some pointers on the muscle up, and we did some agility stuff, and I just enjoyed it. It was really good. It was nice to be coached, not be on .com watching videos and have someone giving me some pointers and some cues. So I started dropping in there regularly to train after boxing, and then around that same time, I was interested in opening a gym. I was on a leave of absence from the Correctional Service of Canada, and I can't remember at that time if I was on a leave of absence because of the birth of one of our children, or if I was on a leave of absence for fighting. But either way, I took when I say fighting, I mean
Professionally, not misconduct. Yeah,
there was a point where I took a 5-year leave of absence when I was fighting in the UFC. So this was pre-UFC, so I was probably on a parental leave of some sort.
Sure.
And my wife and I went to open a gym, and we had looked at buying the Globo gym that we were working out at here in Red Deer, and just it didn't make sense, the price, and there's just many things didn't make sense. So at the same time, we started looking into opening a CrossFit affiliate, and then we went and took our level 1 at Santa Cruz at the original where all the videos, and immediately came home and my life was changed. I was going to, like many, I was going to quit everything and open a CrossFit gym, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't go back to work when the leave of absence was up from the correctional service. I stayed off. I retired, and I opened up a CrossFit gym and continued to fight professionally, and later, transitioned into the UFC, but continued to run an affiliate and train with CrossFit. And that was 22 years ago now. And it's been great. It's been a great ride. It's opened up many doors for me. It's taken me all over the world. I've met all kinds of amazing people, done all kinds of amazing things. I've also did those things in fighting, but they were different group of people, different environment. But it was, it's been great. That being said, I'm 22 years into running an affiliate, and I'm probably not that many years away from handing it off to somebody else.
Sure. But I mean, even 22 years is like 5x the current kind of life cycle, it seems like. So, and I do want to maybe get into that, but I think of 22 years ago, as we're recording this, 2003. It's a lot different. Like, you guys didn't go home, decide to open your affiliate, and then you didn't get an email from Carrie Ann, your affiliate rep, and said, "Hey, Jason, welcome to the affiliate community. We're so proud to have you. Here's the link to the affiliate portal for all your resources." You probably just had your name tag still from the weekend, and that was it, right?
You had to write an essay back then. You had to write an essay, and it wasn't via email. You had to actually write it on a piece of paper and send it to Greg and on why you wanted to open an affiliate. And so from the time we actually opened till the time we got our official affiliation, there was a bit of a lag there. There's about 4 or 5 month lag because it took some time. Like, you had to mail in an essay and then, and now knowing what I know from the back end, Greg would be at the gym in Santa Cruz, and waiting for mail to arrive, and so back then it was very different. You opened it up and you were just kind of figuring it out, and I mean, there wasn't even a rogue back then, officially, where you could, at least in Canada, where you could order equipment.
Yeah.
But we bought our Dynamax balls from Dynamax. We ordered all the rubber from our flooring from the rubber company. You were just piecing it out and parting it out and trying to get, barbell, try to get a barbell here, try to get a barbell there. Bumper plates was, nearly impossible to get.
I'm curious about like your thoughts on this, because again, now still teaching seminars, you get to drop into different gyms, and I'm sure you do when you're traveling for HQ stuff and whatnot. But it's like I feel like if someone were to open a gym now, they would feel the obligation to get this big package and have it be this grand thing from day one. And it's not that it couldn't be, but you early adopters almost had the luxury, although it came with discomfort, of scaling your business as it grew. Like, hey, 1 barbell, 2 kettlebells, a medicine ball. And if you had 5 people in class, you were probably stoked, right?
Yeah, we had three barbells. We had 3 barbells,
Okay.
2 squat racks. We had a couple pull-up bars hanging from the rafters, and some medicine balls and some kettlebells, and you just made it work, right? I don't know. That being said, I think like you can't, like nowadays it's so accessible. Like you could invest 25,000. And I remember when we invested, it was about $75,000, and it really didn't equate to a lot. I remember we wanted a treadmill. We spent a lot of money on a treadmill because I like to run and I like to do sprints in my training, and I wanted a treadmill that I could sprint on. Blah blah blah. But we invested about $75,000 and really got next to nothing for it. Whereas if you were to invest 25,000, 30,000 now on one of those road packages, man, you're like, you're up and running. You could be up and running a pretty well equipped affiliate that could easily serve 10 to 15 people in a class if you get a little creative.
What did it, but what, and to that point though, I'm curious, like, what did it teach you early on to say like, hey, here's the workout of the day if you're doing CrossFit.com, but here's how I'm going to make it work for my scenario. Like, what did that teach you early on?
Well, it teaches you how to scale, right? It teaches you how to adapt, how to work, how to scale. Hey, you got to rely on your coaching a bit. You got to sit down and be prepared and think about it. Like, what's this going to look like if 15 people show up at class, or what's it going to look like if one person shows up at class? Now it's personal training, and this doesn't really, this isn't quite appropriate for personal training. So I think it just, in the early years, it also exposed to me personally, like, especially when I did my first internship with CrossFit seminar staff, it exposed my limitations of my coaching. Like, I was like, oh man, I got to get better at coaching this, or I got to get better at doing this or scaling that, or I got to teach with better progressions. And so I think in the early days, it really forced you to be better, or just be horrible, just to settle into being horrible. And I think a lot of people settled into being horrible, and then the methodology and the product wasn't good, and they end up closing, right? Like, and they can't make it work. And it's funny when everyone can't make it work, when we talk about affiliates and gyms, they always want to blame CrossFit. Oh, CrossFit's not doing this for me. CrossFit's not doing that for me. They're not giving me this. They're not giving me that. It's like anything, man. You gotta hustle. You gotta work. You gotta adapt. You gotta change. You gotta meet the needs of your people. And it takes some work. And if you don't, then you're just then you end up folding.
Well, you talk about like being exposed to limitations. I even think like fast forward ahead, me personally, like in December of 23, so 2 years ago, I took the level 4 and I failed by 1 point. And so you can just think, oh man, so close, right? But then I know there's at least just very casually out in the community, like more people are failing. But for me being 1 point away, I've since worked with a mentor for almost a year now. and realize that one point is like exponentially huge of where my limitations were. And so if you embrace that with a room for growth, it's like the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think and you can apply that to anything in life, right? Like, it's like you can look at your failures and go, okay, well, where do I have room to grow? And, or you can, you can just like say it's stupid, say it's not for you, or you could say, oh, the level 4 wasn't that important to you anyways, make excuses.
Does it make me a bad coach? No.
Yeah, I still, like, you could do that. That's the easy way to play it, right? Or you could be like, hey, I got room for growth. I could be better, and embrace that. And I failed my level 3 the first time I wrote it. When the level 3 came out, we were required to write the level 3. I was coaching full time, like I'm talking 48 weekends a year on the road with CrossFit seminar staff, running an affiliate at that point for several, probably 10 years. And I was like, oh, I don't need to study for this. I'm just going to go write it. And I went and wrote it, failed. I was like, there was a whole bunch of stuff on there that I didn't know. And I could be like, hey, this is stupid. This test is stupid. Who needs to know this or that or the next thing? But it's like, no, man, I gotta get better. I need to evolve. I need to be better. Maybe my current level of knowledge needs to improve. And so, you embrace it. You go study your ass off and watch the videos and read all the stuff, and the stuff that I learned from that failure, like stuff that I learned, questions that I had no idea that I just guessed at, and I went back and researched them and learned that material. I've used several times in the past 10 years coaching.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's all perspective. People sometimes they get in this just little box, and they're very scared people are scared to fail. People are scared of failure. They somehow deem failure as like making them, I don't know, like that it lowers their character. Like, if you never put yourself out there, to fail, then you're never going to grow and evolve and get better.
It's like, and we don't need to get into the like philosophical like social media conversations, but again, those people constantly posting like their highlight reels, as opposed to like, if you're not, and ironically, like threshold training, if you're not pushing the limits of your threshold, you're not finding where your growth is. And that's why the methodology is so profound. And I think the irony about Greg is he said so many things where you just like, that sounded way too smart. I don't understand it. But he said such elegantly simple things like, when you feel like you've mastered the basics, go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's like the answers are in the books right there. You just got to open them back up.
Yeah. I mean, I always make this analogy with jujitsu. It's like people, when we talk about coaching at the level 2 and teaching with progressions, and they're like, well, you wouldn't teach with a progression to your class if half of the class already knew what they were doing. And I was like, of course I would. Why wouldn't I? Since when do more advanced athletes not get benefit from practicing the basics? And I always make this analogy of jiu-jitsu is like the people that get their black belts, it's not because they're doing all of these fancy, crazy spinning moves and flying arm bars. It's because they're so damn good at the basics, right? They've just mastered the basics. And if you want to master something, you have to continue to revisit it and re-practice it and retweak it. And coaching is no different, and your own movement is no different. It's like, but it's always funny. There's this breakdown of like, you wouldn't actually teach this progression to your class, would you? What if they've been coming for 4 years? And I'm like, well, why would they not benefit from?
And they probably have bad habits.
Yeah, they can. Well, like, it gives me an opportunity to coach them and see them move, and we can break some of their bad habits. And how often do you hear even yourself, like someone you've been coaching for years, and you've coached well, and then you say something in a different way to them, and they're like, I've never heard that before. That was amazing. That's such a great cue. I've never heard that before. And it's like, you're really just teaching them something super basic that you've said 100 times before.
Yeah. Well, even just like for me, like trying to still prepare for the next iteration of the level 4 when it comes out. But even something this morning, power cleans, putting my hand on someone's shoulder and just saying, hey, hit my hand on this next rep. And like the things that we see in, like, versions of the breakout groups at seminars, but how often are you actually like trying to apply that? And of course, I've been coaching 12 years now, but I'm like, actually, you were at my level 1 in Coliseum in December of 2023, or excuse me, 2013. So, but anyway, it was like, holy shit, that worked. I've seen it done 1,000 times and it worked. Well, what is the prize?
Yeah. I sometimes it just baffles me. Like I say this stuff. I'm just reverting back to a lot of stuff that I say at the seminars, but it's like, I tell people at the level 2, I was like, hey, we've taught you a lot of stuff this weekend, and now it's on you to like take parts and pieces of it and integrate it into your coaching. And it will make you a better coach. I promise you, it'll make you a better coach. If you start to, obviously you can't integrate all of it all at once. It's just too overwhelming. But if you start taking some of the stuff we gave them feedback on and taught them in the level 2 into their coaching, they're going to be better coaches. But then sometimes I fear, though, that they just walk out the door and they just never apply any of it. And sadly, when you mentioned dropping into gyms, there's, sadly, more times than not, I will drop into a gym and just drop into a class and with no expectations other than just getting a workout in. I'm in town a couple of days early, or I'm out on the road doing something and I just want to get a workout in. And it's like, you just be like, oh man, this is so poorly run right now. And I'm like, I know that in fact, I might even taught your level 1. And I'm like, you walked out the door and chose to not apply any of the things we taught you. Like, it's, I don't know. And I don't know what the answer is, man. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it's like, short of having the CrossFit police out there, and I don't even know what that looks like having people drop in but I don't know what you can do about it. That was part of Greg's model, is you have the ability to make your gym really good, or you can make your gym really horrible, and the strong will survive. And that being said, I've also dropped into several awesomely ran gyms with great communities. And lots of times the people at the end of the class, the coach will be like, hey, can you give me some feedback? And I'll be like, yeah, you did a great job. Keep coaching just like you did today. And, and you've built an awesome community here, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, no, but to your point of what you said earlier, it's like you can lead the horse to water and it doesn't have to take a drink, but it also can't sit there and be like, man, I'm super thirsty. Like, what the hell? Like, what have you done for me? And and that's exactly it. Like and we don't need to get on soapboxes or get too passionate about it, but there are people who contribute noise to the CrossFit ecosystem that are constantly either criticizing or coming up with negative thoughts. But the answer is in the methodology and just being personally responsible for the product that you provide. And like, they don't realize that having that mindset of, oh, well, so-and-so is a really great athlete. It could even be you, like dropping into a gym. Oh, he's on staff. I don't need to coach him. Be like, no, hell yeah. You probably want to be reminded to push your knees out and to keep that chest up. Like, and that's the difference between the training and instructing.
Yeah. And
coaching and instructing, sorry, but
yeah. I mean, sadly enough, there are just a lot of facilitations of some programming written on the board.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of coaching. And that being said too, like, if you've run your affiliate for a long time, good coaching produces good movement, right? So if you take the time and dig in and coach, and assuming you've built a community, and I have dozens of members that have been with us for, well over, 15 years.
Yeah.
So there's this expectation that if you take some ownership of your movement and you move with intent and you listen and you try to, and that's a community that you build within your facility. You build this teaching, this mindset of there's going to be teaching here, and there's going to be expectations of moving well across years. You create this environment where people move pretty well. Like, I'm pretty proud of the fact that if you were to drop into any class at my gym, that I would be proud of the way my people are moving, right? And I always use that as my litmus test of like, okay, if Matt dropped into my gym right now and just randomly walked into a class and I was out of the country or I wasn't there, would people be moving well? And would people be friendly? And would there be some good teaching happening? And would the coach introduce himself? And would there be a general warm up? And I know the answer to all of those things is yes. Is it always perfect? No. Am I always perfect? Absolutely not. Far from it. But if you were to walk into my facility, those were the things that you would get. And I think that if people just took a little more ownership of that as business owners, of like, hey, when someone comes into my facility, are they greeted? Is there a general warm up? Or does someone walk over and introduce themselves and shake their hand and know their name within a few minutes? And will a couple of my members walk over and introduce themselves and say hello? And, will the workout be scaled properly? And if they don't, it doesn't have to be mind blowing, Matt. You don't have to overdo it. And every class, you don't have to coach your ass off. Like, I'm going to show up at 4:30 tonight to my class. It's going to have 16 people in it that are all pretty experienced. They've all been there for multiple years. And I'm not going to have to coach the shit out of the power clean and the programming today. Are we gonna deadlift shrug pull, do some muscle cleans, and we're gonna do that with a PVC and an empty barbell, but we're gonna do it pretty quick and efficiently. It's not gonna drag out, it's not gonna be labor, it's not gonna be boring, and we're gonna move through it pretty quickly, and people are gonna get sweaty, and you don't have to blow people's minds every single time they're in the gym, but if you just do a basic level of doing a good job of those basic things, the product's going to be pretty darn good because, like you said, Greg has set us up for success. Greg has provided a methodology and a platform, like what a group class should look like. And it's been refined and revamped over the years by several people, and best hour. Everyone's got a version of it, but it's all the same. It's just a different. It's just like programming. Like there's 100 different programs out there right now, but they're all just different versions of the same thing. Constant functional movements done at relatively high intensity. It's like they're all the exact same thing. Whether you buy this one or you buy that one or you buy this one, they're just all reiterations of the exact same thing. And same thing with classes. You can, the best hour of the day, and these different organizations provide coaching and what a class should look like. And here's what a lesson plan is. And this is how you should do it. It's all just iterations of what Greg was originally doing.
Right. And it still takes the person to facilitate it. But even like the way you worded that was so basic or elegant in the sense of like, I'm still going to guess you run people through that progression. Jenny, great job keeping the arms straight. Let's keep that up. Steve, love that hip extension. Good job. And then later on, continuing to cue, correct. Hey, you're really working hard at this, right? Like, so it's realizing like you're not going through the motions, but you've set yourself up to a high level where autopilot is here. But by continuing to just have these things that you probably do automatically, like, Steve, I really want you to jump on this next one, aka coaching people and keeping them engaged while running through the progressions. That's what the people keep coming back for.
I like to think so, but I mean, I think that's in you though. Like last night I showed up a little early at the gym to coach a team, and class had already started, and I was just prepping to coach the hockey team that I was training. And
Yeah.
I was grabbing a mop out of the cleaning room, and I saw there's one of the members in class wasn't extending his knees. And I was like, "Hey, Lance, come on, get those knees straight. Drive through your heels. It's just who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's just who I am. I like to coach. I want to coach." And I guess maybe in some of these facilities where coaching is not really a priority,
Yeah.
it's maybe the people just don't know what that looks like. Maybe they just they buy programming and they get a lesson plan written, and the lesson plan tells you to do XYZ, and at 7 minutes you got to be doing this, and at 11 minutes you got to be doing this. But what you need to be doing is making it a positive experience for people. You need to be coaching and making them better. And you don't have to, you can take that too far. You can overcoach, which
Sure.
can also turn it into a bad experience. It can belabor things. It can make it slow and boring. But you're going to find this balance of keeping it fun while continuing to improve people. And you don't have to, take them from 0 to 100 and it's a long game. You're going to be here for years, and I'm going to get you better on a slow, gradual trajectory versus trying to make all the corrections in the first 3 weeks, and you're just overwhelmed and confused and not really enjoying it, right?
Yeah, I've been trying to have the conversation with my coaches lately about being hypercritical, and this is an own paradigm shift I've had in working with Joe Maisley. So that's the value of a mentor, is being hypercritical of someone's movements, not to find the faults, but to find the positive, is what provides the value to them, because you're trying to find every little inch that they could get better at. And that's the stuff that they'll start to notice. And then really effective threshold training is not trying to bring someone down. It's trying to say, here's exactly where I think your challenge is today. Let's see together if you get there. And people really resonate with that. They love that, as opposed to just oh, you got a shoulder injury, do ring rows.
Yeah. I mean, I like what you said there was finding something to celebrate. I think as a coach, we too often, myself included, can get stuck on what you need to do better. And as I get a little bit older, maybe a little more chill and a little more relaxed around the gym. And I think I'm better at celebrating the successes of especially newer people. And even more advanced people too, because they set the bar too high for themselves. I think it's also important to set realistic goals. And if you set the bar way too high, you're always underachieving, and that can be very discouraging. Instead of, as a coach, saying, "Hey, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. You've been working on the muscle up for 3 months now, and you still don't have it. But that being said, you can now do 5 chest to bar pull-ups, and you couldn't do that before." It's you can change the focus a bit, and it's instead of what you're not able to do or what you're not currently doing, and you can be like, "Hey, this is." I like to tell new people, and I'm guilty. I'm as guilty as anybody of in the early days bringing people in and being like, "I'm just gonna crush them and show them how good this program is and how hard it is."
Yeah.
And now I tell every new person that walks through the door, for the first 2 months, you should leave here feeling like you could have done more. If you leave here every day feeling like you could have done more, you could have done more weight, you could have done more reps, you could have ran a little faster, you could have biked a little harder. If you leave every day for the first couple months feeling like that, then you're on a perfect trajectory.
Yeah.
Right? Versus coming in and smashing yourself in the beginning and just being so sore that everything's a chore. It hurts to sit down on the toilet. It's hard to get your seatbelt on in the car. You're like, man, that's not fun. And it's not it takes a special person to really want to punish themselves day in and day out like that, versus taking it slow, looking at fitness as the long game, showing up consistently. Like I said, I'm going to give my best. I said this to my class today, and I was like, hey, I want you. It's been 2 hard days of training at the gym, and then today I was like, guys, I want you to give me your best. But I realize we've had 2 hard days, everybody's sore, and so I want you to give me your best today in the power cleans. But I understand if the best is not, everything you normally have.
Yeah. Well, and actually that inspires me, like, because you would be a great person to speak to this. I think it wouldn't be a misrepresentation to say you have sometimes a hardcore aspect of CrossFit, right? And I mean that in the best way possible. But what about, like, how has CrossFit evolved from that? And we can just speak generally, but like from the hardcore and the early adopters wanted that sore every day, and like realizing that now, like, every aspect of CrossFit, the business, the games, the programming, it's all going through the natural evolution of any product. And now we're just into the laggard phase of just general population. And
Well,
like, yeah.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's like in the early adopters and the early people doing it were so hardcore. They were the military and they were the first responders and me professional fighter, and
Sure.
and we just wanted this program that was just going to absolutely destroy us. But I think if you do that long enough, you realize that it's hard on you. It's hard on you. It's just hard on your body. It's hard on you mentally. It's hard to, like, push yourself that hard all the time. And now as it's evolved and it's become much more mainstream, it's like you have to find a version of that that's appropriate for people that don't want to absolutely destroy themselves. And in fact, I would tell you my years of being involved is that I would say that's the number one flaw of competitive CrossFit, is that this belief that you just have to destroy yourself day in and day out. And yes, there's some people out there that can do that. There's the Rich Fronings and the Matt Frasers that are very special individuals, and they can handle that volume, and they've been able to do that for years and be very successful. But the everyday average person, and I mean, even the average person, that when I say average person is like somebody that wants to decide that they want to be a competitive CrossFitter, it's very hard for them to handle that wear and tear and that volume day in and day out. And a lot of people just like run themselves into the wall so much that they just break. And they break, and maybe they break and they're able to come back, but with a different kind of mindset. Maybe they break mentally and they just, like, I've seen many people just quit CrossFit because they wanted to be a competitive CrossFitter. They bought specialized personal programming. They trained for 3 hours a day. They're able to do that for about 9 months to 18 months before they wreck themselves, whether it's physically or mentally. And then they just, like, drop off the face of the earth. And I think we're seeing that more and more. There's lots of it out there. If you don't see it, you're blind to it. Look at Mel O'Brien. Yeah, here's a girl that came onto the scene that was the next big thing, and she tried to live in Matt Fraser's shoes for a while, and the volume just tore her apart. And you see Haley openly talks about it at Mayhem, how she there's other stuff going on, but the sheer amount of that type of training is just, you have to be careful. It takes a special individual to be able to handle that. So I think it's a much smarter trajectory when we talk about what you originally asked. For the more mainstream people now, it's like, it's to apply it gently, apply that methodology. And there's a reason why it's relatively high intensity, and that changes from day to day. My physical and psychological tolerances changes day to day. Depends how much sleep I had, how hard the workouts were yesterday, how many days in a row have I worked out? Have I been sick? Have I been traveling? Whatever it is, that changes the relative intensity from day to day. It's just not show up, run yourself into a wall, smoke yourself, and hope for the best.
Well, and that's where, is when people even try to say that, like, CrossFit changed, and even Hobart did that podcast about it. It's like, did it change, or did everyone just finally catch up to the methodology to start to begin to understand it, to be able to apply it a lot better? Like, it is so much more than just the programming of hard workouts.
Yeah, well, and I think there's more of that out there now. We talked about this, like there's more exposure. There's lots of different programs out there, and these programs and these platforms are full of great people, great coaches, great people that want that want the best for their people. And through that, as the program has evolved and people have gotten better, and has it changed? I don't know if it's changed. I just think we've got more people applying it better nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then even still realizing like it all still has to run through the filter of the coach and facilitate it out to the people on the floor. Like, so you can say, I see like affiliate owners, we're going to make a switch to Mayhem, but we're going to have a town hall to discuss it with everyone first and make sure they agree with it. It's like, just make the change and deliver it as well as you can. Like,
yeah, do your best with it. Do your best. Leave enough room for flexibility. Like, hey, it's this weekend Mayhem is Nancy. Well, guess what? We're not running in Red Deer right now. It's minus 20 and it's icy and snowy outside. So you can't be locked into that mindset like, no, everybody's going outside and running. It's like, well, no, that's not going to happen at 5:30 in the morning in Red Deer. It's like, you got to have some flexibility. Like, hey, can we switch these things around? It takes a little, man, I think you really just have to know what's going on at your gym. And I think lots of times people are a little they just buy a program and they kind of step back and there's too much separation to what you're saying there. Like, hey, buy a program or do your own programming, whatever. But you have to do your best to apply it to your people. And you just can't like buy a program and take a big step back and not really be in touch with what's going on in your gym. And sadly, I think if we were to take a hard look at some people that's, the noise in the background of this doesn't work or that doesn't work or this is no good or that's no good or CrossFit's not doing enough for me. I think if we were to just be a fly on the wall at their gym or in their back offices, we'd see probably quite a bit of a handoff approach versus just getting in there and giving a shit. I say like, give a shit. Just give a shit. Try your best. Try hard. Try different things. Be willing to admit when you're wrong. And I think things, I think it works itself out.
Yeah, and Denise does a good job of talking about that. Like, it just comes down to leadership and like, hey, like the beauty of the affiliate model is you can make it whatever you want to be. You can, but I think in the space of CrossFit is like in the affiliate, there needs to be some version of a leader, whether it's the coach taking ownership of the class or a head coach taking ownership of the team. Like, leadership is really important, and I'm only guessing you get a master class at that anytime you work a games event, like whether it's from Dave down or just the way everyone kind of falls in place. Like, what's some observations you see from that side of things?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could be more right. It's like from day to day in your affiliate, just first off is like, yeah, there has to be a leader. Someone has to make a decision and someone has to be willing to stand by the decision. And I mean, it should be the owner, that if it should be the face of the business, it should be now maybe the owner's disconnected and there's a head coach, then they're, they are in that case, but there's got to be decisions made and they're not always easy decisions, but you got to make a decision. You got to stand by them. What I've seen not work is like constantly changing, like constantly trying to change just to make everybody happy is just the recipe for not being successful. I'm going to make a decision. Some people aren't going to like it, but I don't care. I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to be true to the decision I make. And if it ends up being the wrong decision, I'm also willing to admit it was the wrong decision and change and adapt. But someone's going to make decisions. And the games is no different. What you see at the games is virtuosity as far as leadership and everybody understanding their role and being willing to do what they're told. So there can't be too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So like, regardless of your status, your how much experience you have. Like there's people that own events and run events, and they show up and they're giving this task to execute at the games, and that's your job. And then maybe way lower down the totem pole of where you know where you, not necessarily where you see yourself, or you wouldn't be there doing it, but where others see you. You're like, this guy owns and runs a very successful event, but he's moving equipment around at the games. It's because it's a virtuosity of leadership. It's people accepting roles, being able to follow direction, and not getting their feelings hurt, and just executing. And it's not as easy as it looks. You see these other events that are always like, we're going to do this better, and we're going to do that better. We're going to be a better version of CrossFit than what CrossFit is. And then it's just a hot mess. And I'm not going to mention any names, but we've all seen that happen in recent months, where there's been like, pretty big balls dropped. And you're like, oh, so it turns out that it's not so easy to run an event. And then it makes you realize that the sheer amount of planning and leadership and execution by everybody from the bottom to the top that it takes to run a big games like the event, or a big event like the games.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think it just does go back to anything, is like the easier someone makes something look, probably the better they are at it. And, whether it's an event like the games, or coaching a class, or just the high level of fitness, it's the kind of back to the basics, always.
I bet you every one of those examples that you gave, that if you were to, really dissect why that person's successful, is that they're really good at the basics, and they're willing to take feedback and get better, and they're willing to practice the simple things and master the small steps to come kind of full circle right back where you and I started this conversation.
Yeah. And so, is the cool thing about it, like, and even in the basics, like, you get to travel weekends for seminars, you get to work at the games and other events and this and that, but then you still get to come home and work at your affiliate. Like, I don't want to say advice, but what advice would you give to find that balance? Because you can't come home you can't leave a house on fire to go somewhere else and escape it. But I think, and also to be able to come back to an affiliate Monday morning, at 6 a.m. after working all weekend, you still have to like love it. Like, so yeah, like, I mean, to put it simply, what advice would you put for someone?
Well, I mean, but it's like you say, if you're doing, and if you're doing a relatively good job of setting your people up for success and setting your coaches up for success and leading from the front, then the hope is that every Monday morning when I come home, I don't come home to a bushfire. I come home to, someone saying, hey, Matt ran a really great class on Saturday. And so always coming back to my affiliate is always like a sense of calm for me. I like to come by. It's always nice to it's always familiar. It's always nice to come back to, and there's been times over the years where, there's been conflicts, and there's been conflict between coaches and conflict between coaches and me. And that's never fun, and it's never easy. And there's conflict between members and me, or, there's a member that's just not fitting and is really disrupting everything. And you're like, okay, I'm going to have to fire this person. Over the years, that's happened. Thankfully, knock on wood, we've had many years of calm where things are running smoothly. And it's always nice to come back to my people. I know my people. I care about my people. I know my coaches. I care about my coaches. I know my affiliate. I care about my affiliate. And just coming home and being able to walk through the doors and just teach a fun class to great people, have a few laughs, have some fun, get sweaty, not take it too serious, and that's kind of my day-to-day nowadays is show up, try to make it the best hour for people's day, but don't set these unrealistic expectations for myself and them as members, as athletes. Mm-hmm. Be patient. Like I told you, as I get older, I'm learning to be a little more patient. a little, and that's certainly, I would say, something that's taken time as a coach over the years to be a little more understanding and patient. But come back to my affiliate every Monday morning and enjoy teaching my 9 a.m. class.
No, that's great. And then, I know you still say you got a few years left in you running the helm, but then what is down the road for you?
So my wife and I, we recently became empty nesters. Our
Right.
youngest daughter just went off to college. So the near future, in the next 12 months, my wife grew up on a farm. So we're not looking to, we have the house gutted, the old farmhouse gutted. We're rebuilding the house and rebuilding the farm. It's been sitting empty for several years. And we're going to move out to the farm. So, we're starting to look at what does life on the farm look like for us, and how many. I told my wife I maybe have a couple more years left of ownership at the affiliate, and that doesn't mean like that we may not still own it partially, but
Sure.
I'll probably be slowly handing over the reins to some people, to my coaches, to be more involved, and with the hopes of some of them. We've got some young coaches that have expressed some interest in maybe becoming involved in ownership, and I think I still love CrossFit. I still love showing up on the weekends and teaching seminars. I remember how much of a life changer the level 1 was for me. Like I told you, I came home, decided never to go back to work as a correctional officer and open up a gym.
Yeah.
And so I try to continue to make that weekend experience, that level 1 experience, the same for the people that are attend seminars that I'm a flow master of. And I see myself being involved in CrossFit for many more years. Will I be running, my day-to-day? Will my day-to-day be evolving around running affiliate? I see that kind of phasing out over the next 2 years, and a little more time on the farm. See what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like yet.
Is there going to be a Froning Barn-esque gym up in Red Deer now?
Well, there will be a barn gym.
Okay,
Whether
but not Froning-esque.
whether or not anyone's traveling far and wide to attend it will be a different question. But there will definitely be a barn gym. We actually have a beautiful shop out there that's very beautiful. And once we get it all cleaned up, it'll be a perfect gym.
Cool. And on that note, 3, 2, 1, time.